Good evening, everybody. Wow, what a zechut to be here. It's my first time in this wonderful Beit Knesset. And it really, you could tell from the signs about the Kiddusha of the Beit Knesset and how much they value Torah and how much they value Tefillah. And that's something amazing. It's definitely a very big zechut to be here. Rabbi Yehuda, thank you for inviting us. We're very excited for the Shabbaton. It should be uplifting Shabbat, Be'ezrat Hashem. It's one of the last Shabbatot of the entire year. It's the third to last, who's counting? And it's one of the biggest. So Be'ezrat Hashem will be zochet to really mitchazek. And tonight's topic is really going to be about Shabbat, so that we can get ready with the last 23 hours that we have before this coming Shabbat to focus and to do what we need to do. And Be'ezrat Hashem be zochet to walk away from Shabbat with berachot and realizing how important Shabbat is to our life. And want to thank everybody for coming out tonight to hear the class. And Be'ezrat Hashem be zochet to meet you throughout Shabbat and to see the Geula Shelema b'mehera b'yameinu. Amen. We'd like to open the class with 5 questions. Question number 1. What is the inyan that we make kiddush on Friday night? There's a mitzvah to keep Shabbat. Zachor et yom HaShabbat tekadesho. We have a mitzvah to shake the lulav. We shake the lulav. We don't do kiddush, take a cup of wine, savri maranan, borei peri hagefen. There's a mitzvah, shake the lulav. There's a mitzvah to put on tefillin. We don't do kiddush before we put on tefillin. We're able to keep Shabbat without doing Kiddush, right? Yom Kippur falls on Shabbat. We don't do Kiddush. We're keeping Shabbat. So what's the inyan of the Kiddush Friday night? We come home. We take the course. Savri Maranan. Borei Peri HaGefen. Mekadesh HaShabbat. We don't find this inyan almost by any other mitzvah, if any other mitzvah. The second question is based on the Gemara that we have in Masechet Kiddushin. The second perek of Masechet Kiddushin begins, Ha'ish mekadesh bo ubishlucho. When a man wants to mekadesh a lady, the Mishnah says he can do the job himself, bo, or he can use a shaliach to send a messenger and to say, I want you to go mekadesh that lady for me. So he can make Kadesha or the Shaliach. Either one works. So the Gemara says, if a Shaliach works, isn't it obvious that he can make Kadesh his own wife? What's the chidush that a man can make Kadesh his own wife? If he can do it through a Shaliach, for sure he can do it. And the Gemara answers, Mitzvah bo yoter bishlucho. To teach us that it's a greater mitzvah if you do it yourself. And then the Gemara goes on to give examples of rabbis that had an opportunity, that had a chance, that had the option to do a mitzvah with a shaliach, but instead they did it themselves and they didn't send the shaliach. And the Gemara gives examples of rabbis that started preparing for Shabbat. Like this rabbi, he would cut the wood for Shabbat, and this rabbi, he would get the fish ready for Shabbat. And the Gemara gives us a list of examples that rabbis got involved in the mitzvah by themselves, and they didn't send the shaliach because it's greater to do the mitzvah by yourself and not send the messenger. And the question is, I don't understand. We're talking about Masechet Kiddushin. We're not talking about Masechet Shabbat. Give me examples of rabbis that were mekadesh their wife by themselves. What are you going to left field and telling me examples of rabbis that started doing things like Shabbat and you got off topic seemingly? Third question. We know that a goy is chayav to keep 7 mitzvot. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalir. Aleph, Ever Min HaChai. Bet, Birkat Hashem. Gimel, Gezel. Dalir, Dinim. They have to have a court system. And of course, Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayot, and Shefichut Damim. That's the 7 mitzvot that a goy has to keep. If he wants to do any other mitzvah, he's entitled to, he could. But he's not obligated to. If a goy wants to put on tzitzit, go buy a pair of tzitzit and wear tzitzit. And if you want to wear tefillin, let him go wear tefillin. And if he wants to keep Shatnez also, keep Shatnez. And Ba'aya, a goy can keep the other mitzvot. He doesn't have to. But for some reason, if a goy keeps Shabbat, we kill him. There's 7 mitzvot that he has to keep. He didn't do anything wrong. It's not avodah zarah to keep Shabbat. It's not stealing. That's shevichut damim. So why can't a goy keep Shabbat? 4th question. Gemara says, whoever prays vaychulu, kol hamitpalel be'erev Shabbat ve'omer vaychulu. That's an unbelievable tefillah. 35 words. We say vaychulu 3 times over Shabbat. We say it in the Amidah Varbit. We say it in the Chazara before the Beracha of the Chazan, and we say it in the Kiddush. 3 times we say vaychulu. Unbelievable tefillah. Like all the tefillot. And it's so powerful. The Gemara says that whoever says vaychulu, 2 angels come, they put their hand on the person's head, and they say, Vesar avonecha vechatatcha techupar. You're absolved, you're clean from any sin that you have. Many people, they get excited for Yom Kippur. Yes, Yom Kippur. Why do people like Yom Kippur? Many reasons. One reason is because they get a chance to be clean. Who doesn't want to get that chance to be clean? Wow, I get to finally, no more sins. Clean page. Eze yofi. Phenomenal. We get that chance every single Leil Shabbat, Friday night. We have a chance to get clean from any avirah that we have. Yom Kippur, in a way, comes every single Shabbat. Shabbat is greater than Yom Kippur. Uberachto mikol hayamim v'kidashto mikol hazemanim. Shabbat comes and we get mechila when we say vaychulu. Gemara mefurash. Vesar avonecha vechatatcha techupar. You are clean from any sin. What's the inyan of the witness of these malachim coming and they're putting their hands on my head? And they're giving me beracha, you clean, you have no avirot. What's going on over here? And question number 5 is that every single amidah of Shabbat is different. There's no 2 amidot on Shabbat that are the same, which is very interesting because every day we have the same amidah. Even on Yom Tov, when the amidah is different, it's always the same beracha for Shahrit, Mincha, Arbit. And Shabbat, every single tefillah is different. Ata kidashta, Yismach Moshe. Every single tefillah on Shabbat is different. And even in the end, when the beracha seemingly seems like it's ending the same way, we don't even end the beracha the same way. On Friday night, Lil Shabbat, we say V'yanuchu ba. Shabbat day we say V'yanuchu bo. And in Mincha we say V'yanuchu bam. Hakam Vadia says also Mincha we say V'yanuchu bo. Some Sidurim they write V'yanuchu bam. Ba, bo, bam. What is going on over here, Morai Rabotai? Why is it that every single Amidah is different and the ba, bo, bam is changing as well? The Sefer Lit'adin Be'ahavatecha, he has an unbelievable mahalach over here. Rabbi Aharon Halevi. And he says something amazing. As we know, every day of the week is matched with another day. There's one day that doesn't have a ben zug, that doesn't have a spouse. And that day is Shabbat. Because every day is paired with another day. One way of understanding that is that Sunday goes with Monday, Tuesday goes with Wednesday, and Thursday goes with Friday, and Shabbat doesn't have anybody to be the ben zug. But there's a different way to understand what it means that every day has a ben zug. Sunday doesn't go with Monday. Sunday goes with Wednesday. What did Hashem create on Sunday? Mayor. What did Hashem create on Wednesday? Sun, and stars. Excellent. The luminaries. So Sunday and Wednesday are a match. Light on Sunday and luminaries on Wednesday. On Monday, Hashem separated the higher heavens and the water. On Thursday, Hashem created the birds and the fish of the sea. So Monday and Thursday, they go together. Maybe you could say that's why on Monday and Thursday we take out the Sefer Torah. Because in Mayim ila Torah. And everything to do on Monday and Thursday has to do with the water. The higher water, the lower water, the fish. So Monday and Thursday, we have the Sefer Torah maybe. And then of course on Tuesday, Hashem moved the water to the side. We were able to see the land. And on Friday, Hashem created the animals. And of course, Adam Harishon. And they walk on land. Every day has a Ben Zug. Shabbat does not have a Ben Zug. Hashem says to Shabbat, don't worry. You don't have a Ben Zug. But you know who your Ben Zug is going to be? Bnei Yisrael is going to be your Ben Zug. Which means, Morai v'Rabotai, we and Shabbat, we're married to each other. Our relationship to Shabbat is unlike any other mitzvah. When it comes to tefillin, tefillin is a mitzvah. When it comes to Shabbat, our relationship with Shabbat is called a marriage. Shabbat is our bat zug. She's our wife. Isn't it interesting how when Shabbat comes in, what do we say? Boi kala. Because Shabbat is the bat zug of Bnei Yisrael. She is our wife. The relationship with Bnei Yisrael in Shabbat is unlike any other mitzvah. This is a marriage that is happening. You know, on those Shabbat Friday night, we sing Eshet Chayil. Eshet Chayil Meyimsa. You ever thought about it? Who are you singing Eshet Chayil for? You're singing for your wife? Well, the single boys in yeshiva, they also say Eshet Chayil and they don't have a wife. And anyways, now is not the time to sing for your wife. You're about to go into Kiddush. Why are you singing a song for your wife? Why are we singing Eshet Chayil right after Shalom Aleichem? We're about to do Kiddush. Kiddush is a mitzvah from the Torah. Why in the world am I now stopping? Wait, Eshet Chayil, let me sing for my wife. Maybe because he wants to fix the Shalom Bayit that maybe he ruined on Friday when everything was havoc and he went, Eshet Chayil Miyimsa. He's not singing. At the end of the day, that's not the time to sing for your wife. Whatever, we're not singing for our wife. We're singing for our wife. Shabbat Kodesh is our Eshet Chayil. The relationship with Bnei Yisrael and Shabbat is a marriage. Something amazing that we see, Morai v'Rabotai, is under the chuppah, the Chatan puts the ring on the Kala's finger. And he says 9 words. And he says, Hareat mekudeshet li b'tavad zo kedat Moshe v'Yisrael. Now here happens one of the most complicated things for a Kala in her life. They tell the Kala, please stick out your finger. So the Chatan can put the ring on her finger. So many times, if you don't tell her which finger, naturally, she's going to take out her ring finger. And they say, no, you have to put out your pointer finger. So she'll put this pointer finger maybe. And then they tell her, no, you have to put out the other point. Until they get it right, till she gets it right, until she's figuring it out. They put the ring, he puts the ring on this finger. Under the chuppah, the Chatan puts the ring on this finger of the Kala. On this finger of the Kala. And the question is, I don't understand. Just do her a favor. You know she's going to take it off and put it on the ring finger. You know that she didn't even size that finger. It's not even the finger that she's going to keep the ring on. A second later, she's going to take it off and she's going to put it on the right finger, on the left hand. So why in the world does the Chatan put the ring on this finger? An amazing answer that I once saw is that we know that there are Aseret Diberot. There's 10 Diberot that we have from Har Sinai. Aseret Diberot. The 10 Diberot correspond to the 10 fingers. And if we start with the right pinky, and we say the 10 Diberot in order, so the right pinky is Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Then this finger would be Lo Yeh Lecha Elohim Achirim. This finger would be Lo Tisa, and this finger would be Zachor et Yom HaShabbat Lekadesho. The Chatan is putting the ring on this finger of the Kala, saying in a way that he's married to his wife, but he's also married to his spiritual wife, and that's Shabbat Kodesh. Before he was married to his physical wife, he already has a wife. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat Lekadesho. He puts the ring on this finger. He has 2 wives. His spiritual wife, Shabbat, and his physical wife. Shabbat, Morai v'Rabotai, is the bat zug of Bnei Yisrael. Bo'i kala, eshet chayil. The Eshet Chayil, of course, is Shabbat Kodesh. And you're thinking, this is a nice derasha. Okay, very good. Whatever, Rabotai, it's not only a derasha, this is halacha le'ma'aseh. She is so much the wife of Bnei Yisrael that if a goy dares to keep Shabbat, we kill him. It's not one of the 7. Yes, it is. Eshet Ish. Gilui Arayot. Shabbat is our wife. A goy is going to keep Shabbat. It's like he's taking an Eshet Ish. He's taking a married lady. As Shalom. Halakha says, we killed the goy. That's how much the Shabbat is the wife of Bnei Yisrael. This is not just a thought, which is unbelievable. We have to realize that Shabbat is the Mekor HaBeracha in the same way. If someone wants Beracha in his life, the way to receive the Beracha is by respecting his wife. So too, if someone wants Beracha in his life, he's got to run to his wife, and that's Shabbat Kodesh. Like we say in the Lecha Dodi, Ki hi Mekor HaBeracha. Shabbat is the Mekor HaBeracha. If a person keeps Shabbat, if a person is mitchazek in Shabbat, if a person wants beracha in his life, of the greatest ways to receive beracha, just to run to Shabbat. The same way Shabbat brings beracha to Bnei Yisrael. The wife brings beracha to Bnei Yisrael. How can it be? The wife brings beracha, which is an amazing thing. If we just think about it. People are looking for sigulot, for parnasah. People are looking for sigulot for parnasah. I was once next to Rabbi Shmuel Pinchasi. When someone asked him, it was after a class that we had on halachot tzedakah and ma'aseh, and one of the students in the class, they went to the rabbi, they said, Rabbi, what can I do for parnasah? And the rabbi said 2 things. The rabbi said, Shalom Bayit. And he said, Titchazek b'Shabbat. You want beracha? He gave 2 things. Shalom Bayit and mehazek your Shabbat. Random? Not random. Because the wife brings the beracha. When we respect our spouse, our wife, she's allowing us to have beracha in the home. And when we respect Shabbat, who's our wife, ki hi mekor beracha, we have beracha in our home. We want beracha, run to the spouse, the physical spouse, mechazek, and value. Respect the wife. That's a segula for parnasah. And mechabed Shabbat. That's a segula for parnasah. Ki hi mekor haberacha. People are looking for all different types of segulot. How to have parnasah. Maybe from this outlet. Maybe from that way I'm going to have beracha. Shalom Bayit and Shabbat. Run to the Isha. Run to the wife. Respect the wife. And that's how a person brings beracha into his home. And with that, we could understand what is the inyan of doing kiddush on Friday night. No other mitzvah do we do kiddush. You're right. But no other mitzvah are you married to either. And the same way when a chatan is going to get married to his kala, first he has to mekadesh the kala. So too by Shabbat, first he has to do the kiddush. And that's why we have 2 angels that say when we mekadesh the Shabbat, we say Vaychulu, they say Vesar avonecha vehatatcha techupar. You're clean from sin. Because what happens to the chatan the day of his wedding? He's a new man. No more sins. All his averot get cleaned. That happens, Morav Rabotai, every single Friday night on Shabbat. We get cleaned. Why? Because we're getting married to Shabbat Kodesh. And Beracha is coming to our life. And Hatzlacha is coming to our life. And the Refuah is coming. And all the Berachot we can imagine. And our holy Torah that we can even think about. All come on Lil Shabbat Kodesh, of the holiest time of the entire week. And with that we can understand why the Gemara says, Ha'ish mekadesh bo ubishlucho. And then the Gemara gives examples of rabbis that actually did something for Shabbat by themselves and they didn't send the shaliach. What's going on over here? We're talking about Masechet Kiddushin or we're talking about Masechet Shabbat? It's the same thing. Mekadesh the Shabbat and Mekadesh your wife, it's the same. One is spiritual, one is physical. So the Gemara goes on and says, you want to know an example of a rabbi that was Mekadesh, his wife, Bo, and he didn't use a shaliach? We'll give you examples of rabbis that prepared for Shabbat. You're talking about Shabbat, you're talking about getting married. It's the same. Shabbat is getting married. You're getting married to Shabbat. Shabbat is our wife. And the Gemara goes on and gives examples. Kiha, like that rabbi that did for Shabbat, he did for his wife. And he didn't send the shaliach to go prepare for Shabbat. And with that we can understand why is it that every single Amidah we end off different. Some have been had to say the ba, bo, and bam. Because on Friday night, it's the wedding. It's the simcha of the kala. So we say ba. In the daytime, it's the simcha of the chatan, Yismach Moshe. We say v'yanuchu bo. And then in mincha, it's the cheder yichud, ata echad. We say v'yanuchu bam. Ba, bo, bam. People that want to really realize how to change their life, they invest in Shabbat. Because Shabbat is not just another day of the week. Shabbat is the day of the week. In Arabic, does anyone know how to say Friday? Jum'ah. Jum'ah. Very good. In Arabic, the way the Arabs speak, Friday is called Jum'ah. What does Jum'ah mean? The week. Because Yimach Shemam, their day of the week is Friday. So they call Friday Jum'ah. That's the day of the week for them. Has Shalom, Lavdil ben Atamil Tahor. The day of the week for Bnei Yisrael, the Jum'ah, which is the day of the week. The whole week revolves around Shabbat. The whole week revolves around, it's the day of the week. That's our Shabbat. Our Jum'ah, our week, is all dependent on Shabbat Kodesh. And the more a person realizes that this is where I should invest my kochot, this is where the beracha is coming from. Because Shabbat is not a day of the week, it is the week for us. As a matter of fact, the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, he says something unbelievable. The Or HaChaim HaKadosh says in Parashat Bereshit, Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. What does it mean, Ki sheshet yamim? He says, Ki sheshet yamim means Hashem created the world not only in 6 days, Hashem created the world for 6 days. Ki sheshet yamim, for 6 days, God created the world, and the world was going to cease to exist after the 6th day. In His infinite wisdom, He created the world for 6 days, and the world was going to terminate. Over. That's it. What happened was, Shabbat came and infused another 6 days into the creation. That means to say, the only reason that we're alive right now is because we had a Shabbat less than 6 days ago. Shabbat comes and it refuels the world with energy for 6 more days. We think that there's automatically next week there's going to be a Sunday. According to the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, there is no Sunday next week unless Shabbat comes. And not only does Shabbat have to come, there must be at least one person that keeps Shabbat every single week. And he says, from Sheshet Yemei Bereshit Adam HaRishon until today, there must have been every single week one Yehudi that kept Shabbat entirely. And he says Adam HaRishon and Noach and Abraham, the Avot, the Shevatim, and even before we got the Torah, because without Shabbat, there is no more world. We don't even know if there's going to be Sunday. What do you mean? Of course there's going to be a Sunday. Not of course. Not of course. If there's going to be a Yehudi that keeps this Shabbat, then Be'ezrat Hashem, of course, there's going to be a Sunday. But that's b'schut the Yehudim that keep Shabbat. And inshallah, there's going to be many Yehudim that are keeping Be'ezrat Hashem this coming Shabbat, of course. And that's why when we keep Shabbat, we become a partner in the creation. I could create a mountain. I'm a partner with Hashem. How am I a partner with Hashem? When you keep Shabbat, then it's your credit that the world continues to exist. You become a partner in the creation of the world because we need Shabbat and we need the Yehudim to keep Shabbat. And that's why on Friday night, we go to our mothers, we go to our fathers, and we ask them for a beracha. Please, mommy, give me a beracha. Please, daddy, give me a beracha. What, your father became the Baba Sali? Your mother became Le'a Imenu? Give me a beracha. Oh, now that they said Kiddush, now that they're keeping Shabbat, they're a partner in the business. And a partner has a say in the business. Because of you, the world is existing. You have the koach to give people berachot. On Motzei Shabbat, after someone kept Shabbat, after Havdalah, people, they might just run. Start their week, no problem. And then there are some, they stop, and they start giving out berachot. After a person tried his best to keep Shabbat, we don't even understand how powerful we are at that time. So much so that Eliyahu Hanavi says the Kaf HaHayim, unbelievable. Eliyahu Hanavi B'chvodo is under an Etz in Gan Eden, and he starts writing all the zechuyot of Bnei Yisrael keeping Shabbat. All the zechuyot, and David this week, what he did on Shabbat, and Shlomo, and Yitzhak, and all the tzaddikim that kept Shabbat, everything he did. Eliyahu Hanavi is writing it down on Motzei Shabbat, says the Kaf HaHayim. And of the greatest ways that we could bring the Geulah is by keeping Shabbat. We don't even understand probably how awesome Shabbat is. The berachah that comes with Zchut Shabbat. We have the koach to give people berachot. We're bringing the Geulah. We're bringing Mashiach. And the Chafetz Chaim says that when Mashiach is going to come and he's going to be preceded by Eliyahu Hanavi, we're going to go to Eliyahu. We're going to say, Eliyahu Hanavi, Baruch haba. Thank you for coming. Where were you? We waited so long for you. And Eliyahu Hanavi says the Chafetz Chaim is going to shoot us a question back. And he's going to say, you waited for me? What did you do that I should come? And then he's going to ask us the first question. How was your Shabbat? That's the first question he's going to ask us. And he knows how our Shabbat is. He's the one writing under Gan Eden. All the zechuyot of Bnei Yisrael. Eliyahu Hanavi knows very well how our Shabbat is. If we want to bring Eliyahu Hanavi, if we want the Geulah, if we want Beracha, we run to Shabbat. Shabbat is the Mekora Beracha. And that's the greatest way to receive Beracha in our lives. So someone could be asking, what can I do to really feel Shabbat? I really want to feel Shabbat. I really, really want to feel Shabbat. What can I do to feel Shabbat? And one of the greatest things that we could do to really feel Shabbat. Anyone want to take a guess? Great. Add to Shabbat. That's phenomenal. Learn Torah. Excellent. Definitely.
Prepare on Shabbos.
Wonderful.
Sleep all day.
Sleep all day. Preparing Morav Rabotai, Hachana, correct. Excellent answers. One of the greatest ways to feel Shabbat is by preparing for Shabbat. Why is it that a Chatan loves the day of his wedding? Why is it such an exciting day for the Chatan and the Kala? Because he's been thinking about it for so long. He's been preparing for his day of the wedding for so long. So you're going to feel that excitement. If you just take a Chatan, you say, okay, come right now, you have a chuppah, there's a girl waiting for you. He's not going to feel the day of his wedding. It's the excitement that builds up for so long. He's like, wow. And our rabbis tell us that if a person were to prepare for Shabbat, then whatever we feel on Yom Kippur, we can feel also for Shabbat and probably more. You know why we feel Yom Kippur? Because we're thinking about Yom Kippur for 40 days, at least. That's why when Yom Kippur comes, wow. If on Motzei Shabbat, we start thinking, Shabbat is in 6 days, 144 hours, and we prepare for Shabbat, you're going to feel in 6 days a lot more on Shabbat. Your Shabbat is actually going to be completely different, because when you prepare, then you're going to feel. The Yesod, the foundation, is the Hachana, the preparation. Yesod, says Rav Tzvi Meyer, is the gematria hachana. Prepare, you will feel. You know, as little boys, when we used to come home on Friday after school, I was never really going to play with, with my friends, basketball or baseball. I would be scared to really even ask my mother for permission to go play on a Friday afternoon, because I already know what she's going to say. The answer is no, and here's the Windex. Now start cleaning, and here's a vacuum, and everything that's made out of fabric had to be vacuumed, and everything that's made out of glass had to be Windex, and all the linen had to be changed over, and here's food, and go give food to this family, and go buy this from the store. Forget it. Friday afternoon, as a child, it was a day of chores. Getting ready for Shabbat. I wouldn't even dare ask my mother, can I go somewhere? Not even no shot she would let me go anywhere. And at the time, I really didn't appreciate it. Mom, you have in-house help. She comes on Fridays. Ask it. She can do it herself. What are you asking me for? She can do it. She's here. You're paying her anyways. And you know what she would say? Because if she's the one cleaning the house for Shabbat, who's going to feel Shabbat? The housekeeper. The housekeeper is going to feel Shabbat. But when you prepare for Shabbat and you get involved, then you're going to feel Shabbat. And the greatest way to enjoy Shabbat, of the greatest ways, is of course by preparing for Shabbat. And the more we prepare, the more we could feel. Some rabbis, they would even prepare early in the week. Like Beit Shammai, the Gemara tells us in Masechet Betzah, he would prepare already from Sunday for Shabbat Kodesh. On Sunday, he's preparing for Shabbat. You know what that means? On Sunday, he's going to buy a piece of meat from the butcher. LSK, Lechvod Shabbat Kodesh. 3 words, huge. LSK. Lechvod Shabbat Kodesh. That's all it takes. And on Sunday, he would buy a piece of meat. LSK, Lechvod Shabbat Kodesh. And the Ben Ish Chai, the Mishnah Berurah, the poskim bring down, it's very important to verbalize those words. That as we're buying, anyways, we're spending Lechvod Shabbat Kodesh to say Lechvod Shabbat Kodesh. You're making halot, you're putting it in the oven. Lechvod Shabbat Kodesh. We can't even imagine what's happening when we say those 3 powerful words. And on Sunday, he would buy Lechvod Shabbat Kodesh, a piece of meat. On Monday, he would buy a different piece because he saw a nicer piece on Monday. So all of a sudden, the Gemara says on Monday, wow, this is B'jannin, Lechvod Shabbat Kodesh. And whatever he bought on Sunday, he would eat it on Monday. And he bought on Monday something Lechvod Shabbat. And on Tuesday, he saw a better piece, the Gemara says. He bought that Lechvod Shabbat, whatever he bought on Monday, he ate it on Tuesday. And this would go on all week long, every single week. Beit Shammai, what are you doing? You know that the best piece is going to come on Friday. You've been doing this for weeks, for months, for years probably. Why do you keep on buying on Sunday a piece of meat? Because it's not about the piece of meat. It's about his preparation for Shabbat. He wants to prepare for Shabbat. And the more you prepare for Shabbat, the more you're going to feel Shabbat. The Ridbaz, one of the great Aharonim, he lived in the city of Sfat later on in his life. The great Rabbi Rabbi Yosef Yedid HaLevi, who's the Rabbi of Hacham Ezra Atiyah, who's the Rabbi of Hacham Ovadia Yosef, he met the Ridbaz. And the Ridbaz says a story about himself. How he saw that he already was in the Beit Din Shel Ma'la. And they were going to take his life away. And he was pleading on his behalf that he should have an extension. And he says that he asked the Beit Din for an extension on his life because he's writing a Perush on the Yerushalmi. The Ridbaz on the Yerushalmi. Please let me go back to earth so I can finish. And they said, that's very nice. But someone else could do that. He says, well, I have a fund that I take care of orphans and widows. In that merit, please let me go down to earth again. And they said, that's very nice. But someone else could do that also. And then he goes for strike 3. And he says, I prepare my Shabbat table on Thursday night. And they said, B'zchuta, you could go back to earth. You prepare your Shabbat table on Thursday night. B'zchuta, you have an extension on your life. Preparing for Shabbat is not a small thing. We should be running. I should be running to prepare for Shabbat. And the earlier, the better. Rav Shach, the Rosh Yeshiva of Panovich, after he finished Havdalah and Motzei Shabbat, he would go and he would set his wife's candles for next week. Rabbi, you have 6 days to do that. almost 144 hours. From Motzei Shabbat to Erev Shabbat, you have almost 144 hours. Now you have to go prepare your wife's candles? All Shabbat you couldn't write. I'm sure you have Chidushim you want to write. Now you have to go prepare your wife's candles? The second you finish Havdalah, wait till Friday morning. Wait till Thursday night. No. The second Shabbat is over, immediately he would start preparing for next Shabbat. Because Shabbat is not the end of the week. Shabbat is the full week. And the more we focus on Shabbat and realize that me preparing and thinking about Shabbat, that's what's going to change my life, then we'll be using more of the 144 hours prepared for Shabbat Kodesh. Rav Spiro brings down, you can take the baby out, please. It's my daughter, I'm kidding. Azita, she had a rough ride today. Turbulence a little bit, so she's good. So what happens is, Rav Spiro brings down, we say in the Lecha Dodi, Merosh mikedem nesucha. What's Merosh? From the beginning. What's mikedem? From the beginning. The song was not written by a lyric artist. It was written by a Mekubal, Rabbi Shlomo Halevi el-Kabetz. What's he telling me? Two words. Merosh mikedem nesucha. Kedem, says Rabbi Spiro, is Gematria 144. The more we use of the kedem of the 144 hours to prepare for Shabbat, the more we're going to feel Shabbat. Merosh mikedem, use the 144 hours. Use that time wisely. The more we think about Shabbat, the more we're going to experience an unbelievable, wonderful Shabbat be'ezrat Hashem. But we don't even prepare for Shabbat from Motzei Shabbat. You know when we start preparing for Shabbat, Murav Rabotai? On Shabbat itself. Imagine that. On Shabbat, we're already thinking about next week's Shabbat. Shabbat is the day of the week. We have 6 days just to prepare for the next Shabbat. Shabbat, it's all about Shabbat. Our life is all revolved around Shabbat. It's not, okay, Shabbat is the end of the week. It's not, Shabbat is the beginning. Shabbat is the week. We have 6 days to prepare for the next one. We should be thinking 6 days, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat. It's all about Shabbat. Our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yom Shekulo Shabbat, thinking about, wow, the most powerful day. And on Shabbat itself, we're already planning for next week. Because we can't wait for Shabbat. And what's the proof that on Shabbat we're preparing for next Shabbat? In Mincha of Shabbat, what parasha do we read? Next week's. Parashat Ki Tetzeh. It's not nice. Shabbat Ki Tetzeh, and you're not really reading Ki Tetzeh. You thought about it. I was a Shabbat Ki Tetzeh. It's not Ki Tetzeh. Shabbat Ki Tetzeh and Ki Tavo. We're reading Ki Tavo also. Shabbat Ki Tetzeh, but we're preparing also for Ki Tavo. In Mincha, we're already prepared for next week. And it's not even in Mincha. Sfaradim, in he knows. In Musaf already. Malik. On Shabbat, the makam of the week is only for Shaharit. The tune of the week, Hajaz, Ras, Nahwan, whatever the makam, the tune of the week is only for Shaharit. In Musaf, the Chazan is already doing next week's tune of the week. You have a whole week till next week. No. Already for Musaf, let me tell you what next Shabbat is going to be. Because Shabbat is the week. And the more we think about Shabbat, the more we live Shabbat, the more we will enjoy Shabbat, the more we will feel Shabbat. And the more you make an esek out of Shabbat, the more you focus on it, the more we're going to enjoy the most beautiful gift. Matana tova yesh li bebet genazai, says the Gemara v'Shabbat Shema. Hashem says, I have a gift. And the name of the gift is called Shabbat. Hashem gave us a gift and He put it in His treasure house. Imagine I told you that a tailor, a shoemaker, has a safe in his workshop that he keeps something special inside. How big do you think a tailor's safe is going to be? I have no idea. What would you think he's going to keep inside? I have no idea. But I wouldn't think it's something that's too valuable to everybody. A few $1,000s, a diamond. How much could people have? Imagine I told you the king of Dubai had a safe. Oh, you think he's keeping diamonds inside? I don't think so. Imagine I told you that the king of Dubai has a safe. Wow! I want to see what's inside. He's not keeping bars of gold inside. He's not keeping money inside. If he has a safe, he's keeping something far more valuable than diamonds inside that unbelievable safe. Lehavdil, has v'shalom. The Gemara tells us Borei Olam has a safe. Kavyachol, so to speak, Hashem has a safe. Whoa! So to speak. And he keeps something inside. What? Something? Borei Olam has a safe? And he keeps something in the safe? The Gemara says, yes, Borei Olam Kavyachol has a safe. And he opens the safe to take the gift out, and the gift is called Shabbat. Whoa! I have no idea what Shabbat is worth, if that's what's happening. Anyways, I don't know what Shabbat is worth. And now, all the more so, I have no clue what is Shabbat worth. Shabbat is priceless. And the price tag on Shabbat is priceless. And whatever we could do to help ourselves connect to Shabbat more and feel Shabbat more, we're just doing ourselves and all Bnei Yisrael an unbelievable favor. There was a famous story about a South African Jew called Kiwi Bernhard. Kiwi Bernhard, she knows the story. Kiwi Bernhard wrote a book called Leopardology. It's a book how to be tactical in a very aggressive business world. He made it big amongst the Goyim. Leopardology. One day he gets a phone call from an event organizer. And they say, hi, Mr. Kiwi Bernhard. Microsoft is making an event. And they'd like to invite you to be the keynote speaker. And he says, when is the event? They give him the date. He looks in the calendar. He sees it falls out on Shabbat. He says, I'm sorry, but I can't make it. I'm a Sabbath observant Jew. And I cannot make it to your event. But the whole event is revolved around you. You're the keynote speaker. I'm sorry, I can't make it. Hangs up the phone. Later, he gets another phone call from the senior vice executive of Microsoft. And he says, hi, Mr. Kiwi Bernhard, we're making an event. You're the keynote speaker. The event is revolved around you. We've been planning for 1.5 years for this event. We'd like to invite you. He says, I'm sorry, but I told you already. I'm a Sabbath observant Jew, and I cannot make it. No, but you don't understand. Mr. Bill Gates himself is going to be there. Everyone wants to hear what you have to say. Could you please come? He says, no. We'll pay you double. No. We'll pay you triple. No. We'll give you a blank check. Now, we're talking about Microsoft. You know what a blank check for Microsoft really is? It's not like me, I tell you, here's a blank check. Yeah, take a blank check. Sorry, I tried it right. You got it. Not me giving you a blank check. It's not going to bounce. If you write this is Microsoft writing a blank check. If he wrote $10 million on it, it wouldn't make a dent. It would be a write-off for Microsoft. $10 million for a multi-billion-dollar company? $10 million, it's a write-off. That's your potato chips. Take $10 million, bechabod. Now imagine, he could have really told them, you know what? You really want me to come? Fine. No problem. You know, Saturday, you can have a whole big place. So across the street, I want you to build me a hotel. How about that? If you don't have a hotel, I want you to build me a hotel across the street. Then I'm going to come. I want to have a minyan, of course. So I want to invite 10 people also to be with me. So you have to pay for them to come also. No problem. And not only you have to pay for them, but they're coming from Israel. I'm getting chashuv people. I'm going to get the chief rabbi of Israel. So you're going to have to charter them a private jet to come and to bring them. And you're going to have 10 hashuvim and they all got to get paid. No problem. And I want to have the sickest, the greatest caterers in the world. And every single meal is going to be catered by a different chef. No problem. And I want to get world-class chazanim. One for Arbit, and one for Shaare, and one for Musa, and one for Mincha, and one for Arbit, and one for Ne'ilah, and one for Abdallah. I want to get the top chazanim and their families and fly them all in. I want them all to get some nice money also. No problem. And then all he has to do is walk across the street on Shabbat in his Shabbat attire and talk about business for half an hour. Which some people maybe do anyways without realizing they talk about business on Shabbat. That's it. Talk about business half an hour. They don't. He's like, okay, that's it. And then go back across the street and continue your Kiyesh Mera Shabbat and eat the Hamin L'chvot Shabbat Kodesh. $10 million in your account, Motzei Shabbat. And if you want to do Havla'ah also on Motzei Shabbat, you can go in and you'll talk about Microsoft for 2 minutes and it'll be Havla'ah and you got everything covered, $10 million, bechabod. And says Mr. Kiwi Bernhard, no. He just made Bill Gates feel like an ani. So the senior vice executive of Microsoft was one time on the plane with Mr. Bill Gates. And he told him, well, Mr. Bill Gates, they changed the event from Saturday to Sunday because the keynote speaker is a Sabbath observant Jew. And he says, look at that. His money could buy him any plane or any building in the world, but it can't even buy him one Jewish Shemirat Shabbat Kodesh. Made him feel like a little ani. Because we never put a price tag on our wife. Imagine under the chuppah, a chatan is about to make Kadesh his wife, and someone goes and whispers and he says, I'll give you 100 grand not to marry the girl. You know, there's a lot of things we'll sell. Sometimes people are a little tight, maybe. There's a lot of things maybe people will sell. Maybe they'll sell their car. They'll refinance their homes. There's one thing, I hope, that nobody sells. Their wife. Because the wife is not for sale. Shabbat is not for sale. We don't put a price tag on Shabbat. Not for 1 million, not for 1 billion, not for 1 trillion. No money could buy us out from Shabbat. Shabbat is the day of the week. And Shabbat gives us beracha. You think you're going to gain by selling Shabbat? Whatever you're going to sell, God forbid, someone would sell Shabbat for, they're selling Shabbat short. You got ripped off. Because Shabbat is the matana tova, that gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu keeps in his safe. You think there's physical money on earth that can pay out for Shabbat? Shabbat is priceless. Shabbat is the greatest day of our life, whatever Rabotai. And Shabbat is our wife. The more we respect Shabbat Kodesh, the more we can enjoy and receive berachot b'zchut Shabbat. And the more we prepare and think about Shabbat. There's some people Friday afternoon, done. 12 o'clock, chatzot, 1 o'clock, done. Forget how that, already they're getting ready. They're in their Shabbat clothing early, shira shirim, they're sitting, they're relaxed. They're getting ready for Shabbat. What are you doing? What do you mean? Chatan. Chatan, the day of his wedding. When does he get into his tux? 6 o'clock? Already 10 o'clock in the morning. He's getting ready, and the pictures, and the limo, and we become chatanim every Shabbat, end of Shabbat Kodesh. And beracha is coming down every Shabbat. And we have a chance to receive so much more. If only we realize what beracha Hashem is giving us when He sends us Shabbat every week. It's not, okay, here's another Shabbat. No. It's not just another Shabbat. This is a Shabbat that never was and never will be again. Parashat Ki Tetzeh Tavshin Pei Dalid never was and never will be again. And if you miss out on this Shabbat, it's irreplaceable. Yeah, wait till next week. But what you lost is priceless. We're married to Shabbat. And with that, I think we can answer another question. I'll leave you off with this. You know, it's interesting that in Masechet Kiddushin, anyone know what Seder it comes in? Seder Nashim. Very good. Seder Nashim. Zra'im Moed Nashim. Nezikim Kochim Etahorot. 6 Sedarim. And the third is called Nashim. Has to do a lot with the ladies. The 7 Masechtot in Seder Nashim. Yevamot, Ketubot, Nedarim, Nazir, Sotah, Gitin, and Kiddushin. The last one is Kiddushin. I would have thought to say, logically, the first Masechet you should have in Nashim is Kiddushin. That's the engagement. And then you can have Ketubot, and then there's Gitin, and then there's Yevamot. Without Kiddushin, there's no Get, there's no Ketubah, there's no Yevamot, there's nothing. And what's the first Masechet? Yevamot. And what's the last Masechet? Kiddushin. How is Kiddushin the last Masechet? Walek. You got the answer. I think you could say the reason Kiddushin is last is because it's the 7th. The rabbis put it in spot number 7. In the 7th spot. Because number 7 hints to, of course, Shabbat Kodesh. And we, Mekadesh Shabbat. We are married to Shabbat. He wanted to perhaps hint to Shabbat Kodesh. They took Masechet Kiddushin, they put it number 7. Don't forget you're married to Shabbat Kodesh. Don't forget about your wife. Your wife is priceless. Treat her with respect, and you can get tremendous beracha. And when we connect more to Shabbat, we bring the Ge'ulah closer. And we'll be able to tell Eliyahu Navi, yes, we did a lot so that you could come. We will mehazek our Shabbat. And especially in our times, how important it is for us to realize that we have to bring the Ge'ulah, and it's up to us to bring the Ge'ulah. One of the greatest lines I've heard from one of my Talmidim was from a Bacher in Lev Aharon. I think he was a second-year boy in yeshiva at the time. We just finished Havdalah. And he said, Rabbi, I can't wait 6 days for Shabbat. That's not coming from the chief rabbi. That's coming from a yeshiva bacher that a year ago, I don't know what he knew about Shabbat, but he worked on Shabbat enough. He invested so much time understanding what Shabbat is and preparing for Shabbat and falling in love with Shabbat Kodesh. He got to the point that he was able to say, I cannot wait 6 days for Shabbat. That's how we have to feel when Shabbat is over. That the rabbis even put one of the berachot in the Havdalah, Besamim. Because we should be feeling bad that Shabbat is leaving, that we should feel, I need something to reignite, rejuvenate me. Give me some Besamim. Where's the nana? I can't. Shabbat is leaving. I need to smell something good. My neshama is missing out now. Do I feel like that when Shabbat is leaving? Do I feel like I really need Besamim? Oh, Shabbat is leaving. Okay, Shabbat is leaving. I'll see you next week. No problem. Of course not. The rabbis understand that when Shabbat is leaving, Bnei Yisrael are going to feel sad. There's Besamim. Rejuvenate yourself. Don't worry. Shabbat is coming back. But we need that Besamim because we're missing something in our life. And the more someone focuses on Shabbat and makes Shabbat a sugya, he makes it a topic that he dedicates his time, his week, his life to. His entire life is going to be different. And Baruch Hashem, we have phenomenal sefarim in Hebrew, in English, in many languages, that they write so much about the power and inspiration of Shabbat Kodesh. One of my rabbis, Rabbi Tzvi Meyer, in Eretz Yisrael, forget it, different level. I'm able in Har Nof to finish Shabbat, Rabbeinu Tam, have my Melavim Malka, prepare and have my class with the boys, and then I drive over to his Beit Knesset way after Shabbat is over, and he's still in Seudat Shelishit. And the room is pitch black. He speaks in Yiddish. I don't understand much Yiddish. I don't understand almost any Yiddish. But I go just for the Avirah, because you feel like it's such an awesome feeling being there. Pitch black. And he's Doresh for hours. And the Hasidim and Tzaddikim, they're a different place. Until they finish. And then they sing Kayach Soif on Motzei Shabbat. And then he goes in. He could be doing Arbit like at 12 o'clock. Arbit at Motzei on 12 o'clock. Because when we realize what Shabbat is, we don't want Shabbat to leave. We're going to hold on to Shabbat more. But of course, that all comes la'at la'at, b'hadragot, step by step. And if a second-year bacher was able to say those words, I can't wait for next Shabbat. Shabbat is not supposed to be a hard day, God forbid. It's not supposed to be a difficult day. It's not supposed to be a challenging day. Not the halachot, and it's supposed to be unbelievable. But we just have to make time to learn about this gift. The more we make time, the more we're going to feel. The more we prepare Morav Rabotai, the more it's going to come into us. We're going to feel. It's going to be embedded. Shabbat! Yes! We're going to realize, wow, this is the greatest gift. Matana tova yeshli bebet kenazai v'shabbat shema. Every step that we take, we have no idea how much closer we're bringing Mashiach. How many people right now, on a Thursday night, are learning about Shabbat Kodesh? I'm sure there's a lot. But here we have one wonderful Chabura, Baruch Hashem, that's learning about Shabbat on a Thursday night. Realizing every Shabbat counts. And every Shabbat matters. And I got to do my utmost for every single one. And Be'ezrat Hashem, when we do that, we'll be zucher to rejoice with Mashiach Tzidkenu, with the Binyan Bet HaMikdash, Bekarov, B'mira B'Amenu. Amen. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.